With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown. Our top stories. St. Kitts and Nevis, on behalf of CARICOM, calls for accelerated sustainable development and global support at United Nations High-Level Political Forum. Significant advances in affordable housing and education highlighted by Deputy Prime Minister Dr. Jeffrey Hanley. Tourism sector in St. Kitts and Nevis sees significant year-round growth and strategic expansion. Reshaping Caribbean work at the Caribbean World of Work Forum 2025. St. Lucian diaspora rushes to claim citizenship as bureaucratic hurdles rise. Internationally, Israeli aid system inhuman, ineffective and dangerous, says UK representative to the United Nations. Now, the details. The Honourable Dr. Joel Clark, Minister of Sustainable Development, Environment, Climate Action and Constituency Empowerment for St. Kitts and Nevis, represented the country and the Caribbean community CARICOM on July 21st, 2025, during the opening of the ministerial segment of the United Nations High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. Highlighting the Caribbean region's enduring commitment to driving forward sustainable development, Dr. Clark emphasized the need for an inclusive, holistic, and multidimensional approach towards achieving the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, under the 2030 Agenda. She called upon the global community to bolster their support for small island developing states, SIDS, through initiatives such as the Antigua and Barbuda Agenda for SIDS, alongside sustained humanitarian assistance with specific reference to Haiti's ongoing needs. Dr. Clark opened her statement by aligning St. Kitts and Nevis with pivotal regional and international voices.
We align ourselves with the statements delivered by Iraq on behalf of G77 in China, and by Palau on behalf of the Alliance of Small Island Developing States, IOSIS. We warmly commend St. Lucia and Suriname for presenting their voluntary national reviews, and we look forward to learning from presenters.
However, she stressed sobering realities, acknowledging the ambitious timeline and present shortfalls.
Excellencies, we are halfway through the 2030 Agenda, but far from halfway to achieving it. Only about a third of SDG targets are showing even modest progress.
Dr. Clark underscored the complex challenges exacerbating progress, including climate change, environmental degradation, and economic shocks, which threaten to reverse hard-earned gains. She lamented the difficulties global institutions face, noting they are underfunded, outdated, and undermined, but urged resilience and optimism.
We must resist despair. Innovation and technology offer real promise, but access remains deeply unequal. And despite new commitments like those in the Compromiso de Sevilla, we are sobered by declining ODA projections.
Dr. Clark laid out 3 core propositions that frame CARICOM's approach and advocacy on sustainable development.
First, all developing countries aspire to deliver better outcomes for their people. In CARICOM, we are doing our part, pursuing economic diversification, leading reforms at home, and advocating globally for solutions like the Bridgetown Initiative and the Debt Sustainability Support Services for SIDS. We are exploring new debt instruments, regional financing models, and sustainable investment pathways. Second, we strongly defend multilateralism. We supported outcomes in Nice and Sevilla, and we look ahead to milestones like the UN's 80th anniversary and COP30 in Belém with resolve. There is political will across divides. We must translate this into action. Third, sustainable development is not a zero-sum game. We share one planet. Our economies and futures are interdependent. Cooperation is not optional, it is essential.
In advancing the case for a more accelerated and inclusive development agenda, Dr. Clark urged a holistic embrace of the SDGs centered on gender equity and empowerment.
We urge a holistic approach to the SDGs. Women and girls must be at the heart of our development agenda. Structural barriers must be dismantled so that all women and men can realize their full potential.
She detailed some of the practical strides being made within the Caribbean.
In the Caribbean, we are building more resilient, diversified economies, investing in digital services, sustainable tourism, creative industries, and climate-smart agriculture. We are strengthening our health systems to withstand climate-related threats, but we need sustained, scaled-up support.
Moreover, Dr. Clark highlighted the critical importance of ocean stewardship for CARICOM states.
For CARICOM, the ocean is a lifeline. We welcome the outcomes of the 3rd UN Ocean Conference and call for urgent ocean financing for SIDS.
Dr. Clark emphasized the willingness of her nation to cooperate internationally, while warning that the SDG's success hinges on concrete global partnerships.
Without meaningful international partnerships, the SDGs will falter. This includes access to predictable financing, emerging technologies, and debt relief. Most critically, the international community must deliver on its commitment to support SIDS through the Antigua and Barbuda Agenda for SIDS, ABAS.
She concluded with an impassioned call to action, connecting the broader international context to the immediate needs of the Caribbean and the world at large.
We cannot speak of sustainable development without addressing the situation in Haiti. Haiti requires urgent action, sustained international engagement to meet its humanitarian needs and to support peace, security, and long-term development. Excellencies, as we commemorate 80 years of the United Nations, let us prove this institution still delivers for those who need it most. Let the next 5 years be marked by action, not excuses. Let us rise together and fulfill the promise of the 2030 Agenda.
The Honorable Dr. Joel Clark, Minister of Sustainable Development, Climate Action and Constituency Empowerment for St. Kitts and Nevis. Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, speaking at the Prime Minister's press conference on July 22, 2025, reported strides in the government's efforts to provide affordable housing and enhance educational opportunities throughout the Federation. His update underscored the administration's dedication to improving living standards and equipping the nation's youth and educators with resources to foster human capital development.
We are delivering on our housing, as the Prime Minister indicated, that I probably should be blowing my trumpet a little bit more. 183 homes would have been completed across the various constituencies. And as a teacher, I must say, when you compare the time frame of 2015 to now, the 3 years, the former administration, they built 164 homes in that period of time. It therefore means that we have broken that record.
He emphasized that this achievement does not include the 75 homes presently under construction, which encompasses several multi-unit projects. Among these are a 4-apartment building nearing completion on East Street and a 8-apartment complex currently under construction on West Street. Highlighting an ongoing expansion, the Deputy Prime Minister explained,
in quick time, matter of fact, Honorable Samuel would be able to attest to this. Work would have started already in Harry Phipps, where we are starting the cluster homes down there. That will be an additional 50 homes in completion, Harry Phipps, Atlas Village, Sandy Point, and Race Course. So if you were to add up all of those, all being well, long before this year is done, 326 homes would be either completed or near completion.
He further clarified that the government has not allocated any funds to the East Coast for this initiative. The completion of the East Street development is expected by early August, after which another building will be taken down to accommodate 4 additional apartment units. Concerning the West Street project, Dr. Hanley provided precise figures.
When completed, 5 buildings with 8 apartments in each will have 22 2-bedroom units, 4 3-bedroom units, 4 1-bedroom units, and we're building 4 special studio designated for the building supervisors.
Drawing a parallel to a New York concept, he explained that these supervisor units, colloquially known as SUP, are integral to maintenance and preventing vandalism. In conjunction with new construction, an investment of nearly $1 million has been directed toward renovations and upgrades at the Wade's Garden Housing Project, resulting in improved living conditions for residents. Beyond housing, The Deputy Prime Minister detailed initiatives serving senior citizens.
Moving right along in terms of the Newtown Community Centre, in my constituency as well, we are quite aware that there's an active seniors daycare program that have been happening for quite a while now, over a year, in not only in East Bastia, but in St. Peter's and also St. Paul's, and there will be the expansion of the others. We are supporting our seniors as it relates to the aging in dignity. You have seen them all over, exposed to the movies, the art and craft, the playing domino, making kites, and of course, one of the most important element of their gathering is their spiritual gathering. So they have their devotions, and pastors and other persons go in and make sure that they are in order.
He described a range of activities including arts and crafts, domino playing, kite making, and spiritual gatherings, supported by pastors and community leaders, emphasizing the program's holistic approach to well-being. Dr. Hanley also celebrated the advancements in the education sector.
I mentioned earlier that the Bastia High School have started, and so over in Molyneux, the Joshua Obadiah Williams Primary School, construction have started on the 3 buildings over there. 3 active contractors are over there.
Regarding scholarships, he highlighted unprecedented opportunities.
When it comes to education, moving as swiftly as I can, this year 28 scholarships for Taiwan, the most we have ever had. And of course, the government continues to support other students who are studying at Monroe University and other universities where they can get a study grant. And of course, we continue to pay the economic costs for our students at UWI.
Significantly, the Ministry of Education has initiated a partnership with the Open University of Tanzania, marking a regional first.
I'm happy to report that starting in September for the first time, the Ministry of Education has a relationship with the Open University of Tanzania, where about 24 of our teachers would be given scholarships to upgrade themselves in bachelor's degree in education. And this is through our partnership as well with UNESCO. And I am happy to report that we are the first country in the Caribbean to have this arrangement.
Furthermore, discussions are underway to establish a memorandum of understanding with the Open University of Kenya, which will facilitate the administration of TVET scholarships and training. Looking toward vocational achievements, Dr. Hanley disclosed that,
and while I'm on TVET, a big deal will happen next month where the first cohort of students would be receiving their NVQ. We have had many years of talking about this. The reality is just before us. Next month, we'll have those persons receiving their certificate.
He also marked a milestone in early childhood care.
Early childhood is celebrating 40 years this year, and I'm happy that under my watch, I was able to introduce vacation for our teachers and care providers in those institutions. Other than just having vacation once per year, they are now having vacations in the Easter, and we are going to continue to work through this.
In addition, early childhood care providers can now apply for business licenses and access loans for the first time, a breakthrough that Dr. Hanley hailed as historic.
Of course, all of those in the private sector, they now can go and apply for their business license, so they are certified as early childhood providers or care providers, and they can now apply to the bank for loans. This has never happened before.
Lastly, Dr. Hanley touched upon the ongoing school renovations.
The school upgrades continue. I think I've been repeating this over and over in terms of the dilapidated state that I would have met most of our schools. We are doing extensive work over the summer vacation to bring them up to the standard that we would want. We know we would not be able to do all that we'd like to do based on what we have.
He confirmed that curricular enhancements will include the introduction of local history to all educational levels, supported by UNESCO. The Deputy Prime Minister expressed gratitude for the sustained assistance from UNESCO and diplomatic channels, including Ambassador Dr. Doyle. Collectively, These upgrades paint a picture of progress in St. Kitts and Nevis's social infrastructure and education sectors. At the press conference held on July 22, 2025, the Honorable Marcia Henderson, Minister of Tourism, along with related portfolios, delivered an extensive update on recent achievements and ongoing initiatives within her ministries aimed at strengthening and transforming the tourism and labor sectors in the Federation. Minister Henderson emphasized the remarkable progress made toward establishing St. Kitts and Nevis as a year-round tourism destination, moving away from a traditional seasonal model. Reflecting on the tourism landscape, she stated,
"For us, within the first, it's 3 years already. It feels, like it was just the other day, but we've within tourism and labor and employment. First, in tourism, the objective really was to make the sector not seasonal but year-round, and we've made significant strides within the 3 years."
Highlighting a tangible sign of progress, she shared a recent personal experience.
Yesterday, I came in on a flight, and this is July, and usually in July, the seats are not filled. People are going out, but the flight was filled to capacity. And that's us, all the efforts in terms of ramping up marketing, increasing lift and all the other things. Looking at our offerings, we've managed to move the sector from, usually where it ends in April. And we have these flights still coming in filled up to, let's say, August.
The minister noted that flights have continued to arrive fully booked, with expectations that it continues through August, with only September and October remaining challenging months.
We will continue, and hopefully at some point in time, we will have year-round, flights.
Minister Henderson also touched on the crucial return of legacy carriers, which she described as a critical factor in sustaining momentum during shoulder periods of both airlift and cruise arrivals.
We have the legacy carriers coming back, so a number of them are out. They're coming. This is a shoulder period, both for airlift and for cruise. And we have the legacy carriers coming back in November. We've met with all of them. So the Deltas, the American has stayed. United Airlines continues. It ends. All of the carriers are coming back.
In addition to expanding air connectivity, the minister revealed comprehensive plans to enhance service quality within the tourism sector through training programs targeting key frontline operators. She discussed the consultative process with stakeholders, particularly taxi and tour operators, which led to the closure of applications after receiving a large volume of interest.
We have taxi and tour. We've closed off applications for persons interested in taxi and tour operations. PM, just give me some time. This is important because we get a number of calls for persons wishing to, with their applications. There's been no real training for the industry. No real training as it comes to tour and taxis, and we're putting on the training from the end of August. The days will be published. We've met with the taxi presidents as well and those who we consulted. We had over 500 applications, and based on what the lost is, we've narrowed it down to about 197.
Training sessions for these operators are scheduled to commence at the end of August and continue through October, with admission decisions forthcoming based on training outcomes. Addressing infrastructure challenges, Minister Henderson highlighted the critical need to expand accommodation capacity as a prerequisite to attracting increased flight arrivals.
Now, the room stock strategy, we've been discussing that as well. We have looked with the other ministries what we're going to do to increase the room stock, because for us to get more flights, we need more rooms. We can't just tell the flights to come. And so we're looking at our room stock strategy. We are finalizing it for it to be taken to the cabinet for the cabinet to take a look at. Of course, this involves the Ministry of Investment for us to reach out to potential investors to finish a number of incomplete developments. We have in one property 350 rooms, and this was a real problem during the music festival.
The finalized room stock strategy is expected to facilitate greater airlift and readiness for upcoming tourism seasons, particularly the busy winter months when visitor numbers peak. Finally, Minister Henderson took the opportunity to commend the dedication of the team across various agencies that support the vibrant tourism industry.
I want to take the opportunity to commend the teams who work with us in tourism, those at the St. Christopher Air and Seaports Authority. We just did some training for more security officers as well. 40 persons were interviewed. Well, 40 persons were successful for training. We interviewed over 100 and something persons. Those who work at the Frigate Bay Development Corporation as well, those at the Urban Development Corporation, the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, and the Ministry of Tourism. I want to take the opportunity to thank them for their hard work towards the tourism industry, and we look forward to the continued cooperation of all stakeholders.
With these focused initiatives and collaborative efforts, St. Kitts and Nevis is aiming to set the stage for robust and sustainable tourism growth, not just to boost visitor numbers, but also to enhance service quality and expand infrastructure in ways that benefit both residents and guests alike. In regional news, Reshaping Caribbean Work at the Caribbean World of Work Forum 2025, Triple T Live Online reports.
Through spirited dialogue and hands-on collaboration, the Caribbean World of Work Forum 2025, hosted by the Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies, CCLCS, became a vibrant hub for reimagining the region's future of work. According to Managing Director of the Lloyd Best Institute of the West Indies, Suniti Maraj, long before formal systems of power were acknowledged, Caribbean people, especially the marginalized, survived and thrived through solidarity and social care. She noted the strength of the region does not lie in policy, but in the power of people working together.
It was a Gayab system, it was a Susu, it was a Panchayat. It was a council of elders. It was community care and love and responsibility. These people were not in power. They didn't have the right to vote until 1946. Yet, for centuries, they survived the worst tortures possible to bring their children and their descendants into the modern era.
Minister of Labour, Social Security and Third Sector of Barbados, Colin Jordan, highlighted that social enterprises support organizations that focus on developing people. He said these organizations are able to reach places government cannot and can forge relationships with grassroots organizations.
There is no amount of money that you can pay to a public officer to generate in that person, as well-meaning as they are, the passion that is found persons who are involved in leading civil society organizations.
The forum also tackled the rise of artificial intelligence, weighing its potential to transform sectors like education while raising concerns about its impact on human connection. Economist David Abdullah emphasized that AI, if guided by community values, could enhance learning without compromising the people-first principles of the social and solidarity economy.
So that our young people will learn not from somebody standing up in a classroom speaking for 45 minutes or whatever it is, but or from reading books, which young people don't necessarily do, but through a creative process of audiovisual material and that kind of thing. And AI can assist the production of that audiovisual material very, very easily and quickly.
The forum continues at the Cipriani College, Valsain campus, where it focuses on themes such as resilience, transformation and modernization, and sustainability. Jason John, TTT News.
St. Lucian diaspora rushes to claim citizenship as bureaucratic hurdles rise. DBS St. Lucia has the details.
In July of 2024, the Citizenship Act was amended to make it easier for second and third generation descendants born overseas to acquire citizenship. This means that individuals whose parents or even grandparents were citizens by birth can now apply to become a naturalized St. Lucian citizen. Julian Dubois, Ambassador for Diaspora Affairs, says that there has been lots of interest and applications from St. Lucian descendants living overseas. However, he says the program has not gone full steam ahead due to some operational issues.
There is a serious interest in it, and the challenge we have right now is from the civil status side. individuals being able to, because you have to have proof of your grandparents, and in some cases, retrieving the birth certificates and other civil status documents is proving to be a little challenge now. But we're working with the Civil Status Department to try and get some of this rectified or find ways of circumventing, these challenges.
This expanded eligibility allows a broader range of the St. Lucian diaspora to connect with their heritage and contribute to the nation's development. Dubois says that there has been inquiries from those not just in the United States, but the UK and other parts of the world.
A lot of the sports individuals, people who are into sports, I suppose, on the back of our Olympic achievement, expressing interest in representing our country, as well as sports like football, and even sports that we are not involved in right now. So a family reached out to me from French Guiana, and there were two of her sons was very, very skilled in fencing, and she wanted her sons to represent St. Lucia. But to be able to represent, you have to have a certain level of organization on the ground.
They have engaged the St. Lucia Athletics Association and the St. Lucia Olympics Committee to create some sort of collaboration to accommodate these requests. For the DBS News World, Miriam Montoute reporting.
We now bring you these international reports.
Release of the hostages who have been cruelly held by Hamas since the 7th of October, and to end the appalling suffering of Palestinian civilians. I'll make 3 points. First, the Israeli aid system is inhumane, ineffective, dangerous, and fueling instability. Reports and images this week of children dying from starvation are beyond horrific. The IDF is shooting at desperate Palestinian civilians on an almost daily basis. Hamas is exploiting this disorder. We call on Israel to end these attacks, hold those responsible to account, and to work with the UN to implement effective aid distribution in line with humanitarian principles and international humanitarian law. And let me reaffirm the UK's firm and unequivocal support for the UN and OCHA in their brave efforts to get aid into Gaza. We also condemn recent strikes on the WHO in Deir el-Balah. Humanitarians and civilians must be protected. Second, we condemn Defence Minister Katz's proposals of forced displacement to Rafah. Illegal settlement expansion in the West Bank continues at pace, as well as settler violence and even terrorism against Palestinians. This is an accelerating campaign to prevent a Palestinian state. We condemn these attacks and call for Israel to hold its citizens to account. We also oppose the reintroduction of the E1 settlement plan, which is a flagrant breach of international law. Third, we are clear that Hamas must play no future role in the governance of Gaza or be able to threaten Israel's security again. However, the organisation which represents a credible alternative to Hamas, the Palestinian Authority, is being undermined by Israeli actions. Israel is withholding $2.6 billion in clearance revenues, crippling the Palestinian economy and pushing essential health and education services to the brink. This is not conducive to Israel's security. President, the United Kingdom is resolute in our commitment to a two-state solution, and my Foreign Secretary has been clear that we are prepared to take further action to prevent the forcible erosion of the only viable path to lasting peace. Next week's conference, co-chaired by France and Saudi Arabia, is a vital opportunity to demonstrate the strength of international resolve to secure a better future for Israelis, Palestinians, and the region. I thank you.
Thank you, Madam Representative of the United Kingdom. I would now give the floor.
Well, that was the UK's ambassador. Let me bring Tom Bateman back in from Washington, who was listening to that. And Tom, listening, it didn't go on for very long, but it was probably the boldest I've heard from the UK representative there at the UN in terms of its criticisms of what Israel is currently doing.
Yeah, I think reflective of increasingly critical language from the United Kingdom over recent days and weeks. From the Foreign Secretary David Lammy, for example, the fact that they joined 25 other countries in signing a joint statement that called for the war to end immediately and talked about the drip feed of aid into Gaza, calling on Israel to flood aid into the Strip and end the siege on the population there. So I think we're hearing that reflected in Barbara Woodward's statement there to the United Nations. Interesting that she mentioned the conference next week that is taking place at the UN in New York, chaired by the French and the Saudis, around a two-state solution. So this has been a sort of diplomatic lever that some big European countries have been threatening to pull, basically, that they know the Israelis are trying to stop, about the potential recognition of a Palestinian state unilaterally without negotiations with the Israelis. Now, the Americans have threatened those countries, or were threatening those countries last month, not to attend this conference and threatening severe diplomatic consequences in a really unprecedented move between allies. They're going ahead with this conference now, even though President Macron delayed it because of the Israeli strikes on Iran. But it's happening next week. So that's going to be a really key moment, I think, in terms of the diplomatic push and pull that between the Americans and their allies over the way that they are treating Israel and the increasing divisions between these allies over the way they're viewing Israel.
In the hot days of summer, a heat wave is taking a toll on the daily lives of people living here in the capital, Tehran, and in other cities across the country. Iran is experiencing hottest days of the year, with temperature in some of the cities exceeding 50 degrees Celsius. The government, in response, has announced a national holiday in several provinces. The heat wave is accompanied by lack of water, and the water supply situation in the country is in a critical situation. As you can see here in the northern parts of Tehran, we see a river clearly indicating the decrease in water level. The government has urged the public to reduce water usage, and Tehran Provincial Water Supply Company says reservoirs supplying the capital have fallen to their lowest level in a century.
I hope people will forgive us. I apologize. We have no other way at the time being, as there is no water, and we should cope with this situation.
Lack of water supply is getting more tangible, with some neighborhoods face supply disruptions. Tehran is also experiencing scheduled electricity cuts similar to those implemented during past summers.
Over the past few days, it has been much hotter, and we have water and electricity outages. It has been very troublesome and disturbing. We are really exhausted. Somebody has to fix it. Who should we tell?
The heat wave placing a strain on water supply system and power grid. Meanwhile, the water crisis is escalating, and it creates serious concerns for many Iranians. Toida Sedi, Al Jazeera, Tehran.
From what the Nvidia boss thinks of Chinese bots, to why Elon Musk wants someone to give him $12 billion. This is AI Weekly. Nvidia boss Jensen Huang has hailed the quality of China's AI models.
China is moving incredibly fast because the model layer with DeepSeek and Alibaba QN and Moonshot, Kimi, right? All excellent technologies. And in fact, DeepSeek is the world's first open source reasoning model. And it was a breakthrough.
Huang spoke in China after saying his firm would again start selling its hot H20 AI chips in the country as US curbs are eased. Elon Musk's XAI is working to secure up to $12 billion to fund its expansion plans. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. It says the money would be used to buy a massive stock of Nvidia chips that will power Musk's chatbot Grok. Medical technology researchers have created AI tech that can model patients' bone structures using just 2 to 4 X-rays. Hong Kong University of Science and Technology Assistant Professor Li Xiaomeng says the technology lowers costs and is safer too. Compared to a standard CT scan, he says it reduces the radiation dose by up to 99%. Students in Nigeria held a battle of the bots to help spur innovation in AI. Contenders included a robot that can detect mines and a system that spots stolen cars at toll booths. It comes as Nigeria tries to foster its AI capabilities, with steps including training 6,000 teachers to conduct classes on the tech. And Delta Airlines is under scrutiny over possible moves to let AI decide ticket prices. Democratic senators have raised concerns, saying the tech could set individual prices calculated to be the maximum each buyer will tolerate. Delta says it is testing AI pricing, but denied having any plans for individualized fares.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were: St. Kitts and Nevis, on behalf of CARICOM, calls for accelerated sustainable development and global support at United Nations High-Level Political Forum. Significant advances in affordable housing and education highlighted by Deputy Prime Minister Dr. Jeffrey Hanley. Tourism sector in St. Kitts and Nevis sees significant year-round growth and strategic expansion. Reshaping Caribbean work at the Caribbean World of Work Forum 2025. St. Lucian diaspora rushes to claim citizenship as bureaucratic hurdles rise. Internationally, Israeli aid system inhuman, ineffective, and dangerous, says UK representative to the United Nations. Thank you for listening.